Hello Sagittarius, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of it, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross-watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Sagittarius, let's jump on in and see what we've got here. Overall energy. We're going to start with overall energy through oracle cards here. Starting Sagittarius with your side of this connection toward the person you're dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is Sagittarius' side of the connection. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay. Manipulation, triggered, and grief and sadness. So it is obvious that there is something pretty heavy going on here. I feel like you feel like you got bamboozled. That's what I feel like here. Like a bait and switch kind of thing. By this person. I feel like you had a certain expectation of who they were, how they were going to show up, and it feels like the version of them that they ended up showing up as was very, very different. And I feel like that has been deeply triggering for you in a lot of different ways. And I feel like you've been having a difficult time when it comes to healing from this connection and finding your way forward, maybe even being able to free yourself from it because of how deeply this impacted you. So with that being said, let's look at this person's energy toward you. This person's energy toward Sagittarius. Didn't expect that. Love. Connection. Unfinished business. I don't think that this person's energy toward this is what you would expect. Because I feel like based on how they acted in this, there's maybe this feeling that they don't really care about you or about the connection, but I don't feel like that's the case at all. That doesn't make their behavior okay. But I do feel like it's more complicated. Like this isn't as black and white as like they just did these things. Because this unfinished business kind of to me represents this energy of regret. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm saying like, oh, forgive them, take them back, right? Like that's not it. Because there's always a deeper reason as to why people do the things that they do. And I ultimately feel that this reading is trying to provide you with some clarity and understanding this from a different perspective. Truth of the connection between Sagittarius and this person. Passion. So chemistry strong here between you and this person. for sure. Boundaries and dream come true. So it's hard because I feel like this was something that was very instant in the beginning. Maybe you guys clicked immediately. Like I said, the chemistry was there. So I feel like it was difficult for you to know what to expect because that chemistry and that passion and the potential that brought forward made it feel like a dream come true there for a second. But then obviously, like I said, the way that things went definitely unfolded in a much different way. So I don't necessarily know, because with this boundaries card, I feel like it's hard to set boundaries when we see potential, right? Because we want things to work out so badly that sometimes I don't say ignore red flags in the way that like, oh, you should be blaming yourself and this is your fault, okay? Because that's not what I'm saying. But I do feel that there was this energy of being so blinded by the feelings that it was hard to see things as they really were, and that does really happen. But then I feel like ultimately at the end of the day, their behavior and their actions were very different than what you were wanting here. So I think ultimately, in order to create better experiences for ourselves, right? To create healthy love, to break out of cycles, we have to understand the energy behind it, to understand why something happened, what it's trying to teach us, what it's pushing us to heal, so that we don't repeat it. Because we repeat until we learn from it, until we grow from it, until we heal from it. Whatever wording might fit for you. So I feel like the point of this reading is really to bring forth like the deeper purpose of what happened, or a deeper understanding of what happened here, and help relate it to a purpose for you when it comes to ultimately helping you forward on your journey. And I'm not saying that you should just be overwhelmingly grateful that things happened the way that they did, because that's not healthy or unrealistic. But I do believe that there's always a purpose for our pain. There's a purpose for our experiences. And when we're willing to look for that purpose, it helps a lot in the healing and in the moving forward and the rising from the ashes after difficult experiences. Overall theme of this reading for Sagittarius. You don't think of me. See, that's what you think. See, I feel like you think that this person just straight up doesn't care about you, but that isn't true at all. The feelings are mutual. But what about it? What about it is important? There are regrets, and I said that. I said there were regrets. Okay, so it really is about understanding this from a different perspective to help you on your journey. It's not about some of you might want this person back, but I feel like for a lot of you, you're kind of just wanting to heal, to move forward. I don't know. Let's just see how things unfold. I don't know. All right, Sagittarius' side of this connection: manipulation with grief and sadness. Sagittarius' side here. Could be dealing with another fire sign, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, but also I feel like there's more to it than that. King of Wands. It's obvious that this was a very fiery connection, which I think, passion and excitement and explosive is a word that comes to mind. Four of Wands. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. The Judgment in reverse. Ooh, okay. The World. The Page of Cups in reverse. And the Four of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. And here you are as the Queen of Wands. You could also be the King of Wands. This could also be your energy, because I see this in kind of a different way too. But this connection in the beginning. Very exciting, very passionate, very explosive. And I feel like these feelings that you had, and I already kind of said this, but I feel like there's a need to kind of elaborate on it a little bit. It's like they caused you to see this person in a very, for lack of a better way, like idealized way. And that doesn't mean that you were wrong in that. You know, a lot of times, especially in the beginning of connections, people are putting their best foot forward, right? They're showing up, in the best way that they can. But as connections deepen, the triggers come out, the traumas come out, the limited capacities to love come out, whatever the case might be. But it almost feels like there were some things that you didn't like, maybe early on, but then it was like there were so many wonderful things about the connection that it was almost like pushing those to the side, ignoring those things. And you saw this connection through, like with this Four of Wands, it's like you saw a future with this person. You saw where this could go. You saw what this could be. And that made you so excited. So it was just full steam ahead in this. And then, rug ripped out from underneath you. Out of the blue. Just absolutely, I feel like, unexpected here. And I feel like this has been such a painful experience for you in so many levels, because I feel like maybe this is one of those connections you've never felt this way before. You had never felt something so passionate and so exciting, something that's never made you so excited for the future or what things could be. And so having that rug ripped out from underneath you felt like the universe bringing you a dream and then removing that dream from your life. Almost like this deep betrayal from the universe in some sort of way, even if, especially if there was betrayal in the connection too. And I feel like Spirit wants you to understand through this that that's not what happened. It makes sense why you feel that way. But that's not what's happening here. This connection with the World card represents some sort of cycle in your love life, some sort of cycle that keeps being repeated that is blocking you from the love that you truly deserve. So the goal is to get clear on what this cycle really is. But I also feel that this person being placed in your life was intentional to help you break out of some sort of cycle too. So there's more, and I said this, it's like there's more to the story than what it might feel like. It's not so black and white. There's more to it than what meets the eye. And I think that's why I love tarot. Because it's not about what happened, right? It's not just about these are the circumstances, this is what happened. For a lot of people, maybe that's what you're looking for. If you are, I'm definitely not your reader, but I love tarot because it helps you get to the root of what's going on below the surface of the energy, of what is trying to be brought to the surface. It helps provide, an understanding of your experiences and ultimately help kind of pave a path to healing. And so I think that, when I talk about how things aren't so black and white, the whole goal of these readings is to help bring to the surface what's going on below the surface. Yeah. So let's look at this. This person's energy toward you, Sagittarius, unfinished business with love. What does Sagittarius need to know about this person's energy toward them? Wanted that to be upright, but it's just not. The Fool in reverse, the Lovers in reverse. See, the Fool in reverse represents like being unprepared, not being ready for something. What else? This person's energy toward you, Sagittarius. Eight of Wands. Knight of Pentacles, the Empress, and the Four of Cups. Okay, that's in reverse. Knight of Pentacles in reverse. I literally sometimes, it's kind of crazy. When I put the card down, I can literally feel this energy of like, turn it around. It feels like this like force. It's like actively trying to get it to turn around. I often get the question, why do you turn cards around or whatever? I literally just feel it like intuitively which way it's supposed to go. Okay. I'm going to talk about this in kind of a general way and then apply it to the energy because I feel like that helps me the most. I talked about how with the Fool in reverse, this energy of being unprepared, of not being ready for something. And this happens a lot in our life. If we don't believe that we're worthy or deserving or capable, or we haven't done the work, or we haven't grown, or we haven't emotionally evolved or whatever, and something that we desire comes around, we are most likely going to sabotage it. Not intentionally, but because there is a part of us that doesn't believe we can have it, and we tend to act from that part. Before we develop an awareness of what's going on with us, of why we do the things that we do, of our triggers, of our traumas, those things are going to control us. And that is the epitome of what happened here. Who this person showed up in the beginning of this connection wasn't them trying to reel you in just to screw you over. I know that it feels like that. But this person genuinely sees this connection as something that was incredibly valuable to them. I mean, with this Empress energy, I feel like they see you as this Empress energy. But as anything, they showed up in this energy of, this is who I want to be. I want to be somebody that you can trust. I want to be somebody that can love you well. I want to be this person. But then as things developed, quote unquote, true colors came out, right? But what that really means is the version of themselves that they're capable of accessing in this moment because of their level of consciousness, healing, growth, evolution, that ultimately came out. Everybody has the potential to be the best version of themselves, and everybody has the potential to be the worst version of themselves. But our ability to be the best version of ourselves is 100% dependent on the work that we do on ourselves, on the healing, on the growth, of the taking accountability for our traumas and our triggers and not letting them control us. And a lot of people aren't doing that work. Now, it doesn't mean if you do the work, you're always going to be the best version of yourself. But, the more work you do on yourself, the more that you're going to show up more times, leaning this way as opposed to this way. And the ways that this person acted in this connection, I want to make so very clear. Not okay, absolutely not justified, but there is a reasoning more than them just doing it just to screw you over. And the truth of it is that, and one of the things, I feel like I've been repeating this a lot in my readings this week, is that people don't treat us based on how they value us. People treat us based on how they value themselves. And when somebody doesn't value themselves enough to show up in the way that they need to for the things that they desire, it's going to look like they're saying that they don't care about us, that they don't love us, that they don't value us. But in reality, it's somebody making a decision to screw themselves over at the end of the day. So I feel like when it comes to this person, it's important for you to know that the way that they acted in this connection is not a reflection of how they feel. And I feel like that's so important, not because you need to know that they have feelings for you and you need to know that they have regrets, but because I think it's important for you to understand that how people treat you and how this person treated you in particular is A, not a reflection of what you deserve at all. B, certainly not a reflection of your true value. And C, D, E, F, not a reflection of what's possible for you. But there's always a reason as to why we attract certain people into our life. There's always, always, always a reason. And when we understand that there's a reason, when we look at our relationships with other people as a mirror or a reflection of our relationship with ourselves, we stop feeling so screwed over by them, and we start looking more so at what is in our power and our control to break out of some sort of cycle. Because here's the thing, somebody can have the best intentions in the world. They can show up, they can try to, love you and care for you in the way that you deserve. But if they haven't done the work, they are not going to be able to do that consistently. I always compare this to somebody running a marathon. If, they want to run a marathon, that's fantastic. They want the love that they deserve and desire, great. But you got to do the work. You got to show up for it. You got to heal. You got to grow. And when you and this person met, they were completely unprepared, because being able to have and sustain a healthy relationship is a skill. It's a skill that requires conscious effort and conscious work on oneself. A healthy relationship is composed of two people who are doing the work on themselves to show up for themselves, and then that work, both benefits them and the other person. But it's a partnership. And for a lot of people in this world, they're not doing that work. And so they get into connections. And when those feelings start to arise, the insecurities and the feelings of unlovableness, instead of dealing with them or even recognizing that they're happening, they push the connection away, or they self-sabotage. They betray. Not because they're betraying you, but because they're betraying themselves. And when we look at it that way, it makes a lot more sense, and it can help us on our own healing journey. Now, the important thing is to understand that people can have regrets, right? I do feel like this person has regrets for the way that they treated you. I don't feel like they're doing anything about it. And that's the hard part, right? Is having regrets of doing something the wrong way, but then not changing the behavior isn't actually showing up in a better way, right? It's just repeating a pattern. So going back to that marathon example, if somebody wants to run a marathon, but then they don't do the work, they're probably going to fail at the marathon, right? But then another marathon goes around and they're like, no, I really want to do it this time. And then they still don't do the work, they're going to fail at the marathon. Having the intention of wanting to run a marathon is only going to get you so far. It's going to get you a free t-shirt and one of those number cards. That's pretty much it. It's not going to get you the success of actually getting to where you want to go. So one of the things that I think is important about this reading is understanding that the way that this person handled this connection has nothing to do with you. But the deeper question is to understand, okay, why did I attract this into my life? What is this trying to bring up in me to show me what it is that I need to look at so that I can heal, grow, evolve, and expand? I talk about this a lot, but I was in a relationship with an emotionally abusive person 6 years ago now. And this connection did so much damage to me that I completely lost myself. I was a very, very broken shell of a human being after it happened. And after that, it was so incredibly difficult for me to make sense of why the universe would do that to me, why the universe would put somebody into my life, make me fall in love with them, and then hurt me that bad. And I spent a lot of time in this anger and this frustration of this, and it just felt like I was stuck. It felt like I could not, for the life of me, remove myself from this experience. And then, I prayed about it and I asked for guidance, and eventually Spirit led me to what is now my favorite quote, which is, a person who blames others has not begun their lesson. A person who blames themselves has begun their lesson, and a person who blames no one has finished their lesson. And I started looking at what was in my power and my control, because I spent so long being like, oh, this person did these things to me and they hurt me in this way and they made me feel like this. And I was right, okay? I was justified in my anger. I'm not saying you shouldn't be angry. But it wasn't until I flipped the script and I started looking at, okay, what did I do? And the answer kind of lied, and this is a very oversimplification of what really went down, but I let it happen. I let this person continue to treat me poorly. I let this person not show up for me. I let this person, hurt me. And I realized that I accepted in that relationship what I believed that I deserved. And I spent so long believing that I was deserving of so much less than what it was that I truly did deserve and what I truly wanted in this life, that I kept being drawn into relationships with people who made me feel undeserving of love. And when I started looking at the wounds that created that belief, I started seeing that there were so many more things that needed to be addressed and healed. That my wounds were driving me into familiar cycles with people who didn't choose me or love me well, because that's what happens. The number one way that unhealed wounds shows up in our adult relationships is by driving us into relationships with people who wound us in those ways. So we get betrayed and we get abandoned over and over and over again. And we feel like it's fate, like we're just destined to experience that kind of love, but there's more to it than that. And when we can understand that there is something below the surface within us that is asking to be addressed and healed, so we are not driven into dynamics and cycles with people who are not capable of loving us well, who are not at a place in their own world and their own life to love us well, then we stop repeating those experiences. We break the cycle and we attract the love that we truly deserve and desire. But we have to recognize that there's something going on within us. We have to recognize that when we are experiencing a wound in another person, there is something that is being rewounded in us, something that's being brought to the surface, something that is asking to be healed. And when we address that, we take our power back. Because a lot of times when people screw us over, it makes us feel really powerless, right? Because you're like, well, I trusted them for what? And then it makes it hard to trust yourself. And you're like, well, I don't really want to open myself back up because I don't want to go through that again. And it leads you into, this cycle and this belief that you can't have the love that you deserve and desire. So I feel like there's really two parts to this reading. At least this two parts to this part of the reading. And the first part is understanding that the way that this person behaved is more of a reflection of where they're at on their journey, of, their level of healing, of their, showing up for their value. Because again, people don't treat us how they value us, they treat us how they value themselves. First part. Second part to it is trying to understand what wound is driving you into the wounding that you're experiencing. When we start to look at what's asking to be healed, we stop letting those wounds drive the wheel, which is a lot of what I talk about in these readings. So we're going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into this, looking at the deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. You have boundaries with passion. Any information for that is in the description box below. Thank you so much, Sagittarius, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Sagittarius.